online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
You make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Hello, guys. This is Sunny Chayes, and you are with me today on Contagious Optimism Radio, and I am very excited to be here. And are we on, John? Yeah. Cool. I have Jim Cathcart in the studio with us, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him, and that's the beautiful music you hear in the background. I want to remind you about the Contagious Optimism movement that we're going to be kind of playing with today, weaving in and out of our conversation. And I want to tell you that all kinds of amazing things are happening in the world, and so tune in, find out, get going, and do stuff, guys. I want to tell you a little bit about Jim. He is a Hall of Fame speaker, if we can imagine such a thing. I just learned that there was such a thing, as well as a sales and marketing Hall of Famer, as well as a best-selling author of 16 books, motivational expert, and has given 2,900 speeches. And after I read his book, The ACORN Principal, I found out that he has spoken with and lectured and motivated astounding people in our world. And so I just want to go ahead and bring on Jim Cathcart. So join us, Jim.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
We love being here.
Stop.
Don't stop.
No, really.
Don't stop. That's a line from Hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Don't stop.
Don't
Stop.
stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't stop. Anyway, I digress a little bit. So, Jim, I just was going to tell you before we started the show that your introduction was going to be brief, and we were going to weave and feed all of your accomplishments through the show. So I want you to feel totally honored by the end of this 50 minutes. So just throw in any of your
I'm
luscious,
just
delicious.
To be part of the show, so that's wonderful.
Oh, my pleasure. So I read your book, The ACORN Principal. I really loved it. You know, as I've said many times, I do get a lot of information at me in this position I'm in. And I found this book, even though you've written it a little bit ago, it's not absolutely hot off the press as of yesterday, I still found it very, very inspirational to me.
Thank you.
I'm actually a little emotional today because going through it, it just brought up a lot of stuff and a lot of things to look at, and I just really appreciate it. So as I told you, but I'm going to do it, guys, honestly. Jim's going to take me through some processes here. So live on the air, you will learn more about me than I think I know about myself. Yikes, John, get ready.
Well, you know, the book is a self-guided tour of you, and its whole purpose for existence is to give people more self-awareness, make them realize who they are, what makes them who they are, how can they understand and use that well. It's like, you know, the acorn metaphor. If you start with an acorn, oak is coming. You know, you cannot tell the acorn, hey, I'm going to send you to Redwood Camp. I want you to be a giant sequoia. Hang out with the redwoods, network with them, find out how they got into redwood, you know, come back prepared to be a redwood. Well, they'll come back a insecure oak.
Right.
You know, so if there's a seed in you that makes you you, you really ought to understand that seed and embrace it.
Right.
And then ask, how could that seed thrive in this world, make a difference, truly have meaning, you know?
Well, and what I loved about this book, too, that it's not, what it is very pure in that there is sort of no right or wrong or up or down or in and out at all. No. It's sort of, if you're this kind of person, you operate that kind of way. This is how you tick. This is how you roll. Know it, embrace it, go for it, and, hey, allow other people to know perhaps.
Well, yeah, and the alternative to that is deny it. Try to change it, both of which are complete futility.
Right.
Because
or keep it hidden and let people try to.
In other words, have the unhappiest life you possibly could. Right.
Or it's that idea of, years ago people would go into therapy, like husband and wives, and it's like, oh, well, she wants me to be a mind reader. Well, he wants me to be a mind reader. It's like, people, like even the beginning of the show when we have a certain amount of time in between the shows here at UBN, and when John is preparing, it's like, okay, when are you ready for more information? You heard me say that to him. Because if I sort of bombard him, then he might miss this thing or that bad thing.
Right.
But if he lets me know, okay, give me some more, a little more tidbit, a little more tidbit.
Like a blender. You don't keep filling it before the initial batch gets blended and the level drops down, so there's room for more.
That's
Same
right.
thing intellectually, the same thing emotionally, same thing interpersonally.
Well, and when you were talking about the ACORN concept, the idea of the entelechy, I love the entelechy. I've learned a lot about what that actually means through Gene Houston, Marcia
Yeah.
Wieder.
And that word originated with Aristotle.
Right.
You know, it's just the basic genetic tendency of whatever the entity is. It has an entelechy. The entelechy of a animal is very different from the entelechy of a particular plant. And an oak differs from a spruce, from a redwood, etc. You know.
And in your book, you're talking many times, as many people do, about the different aspects of how we become our oak. You know,
Yeah.
sort of how we move from the acorn to the oak. And there are many different theories, the nature-nurture, the letting go of baggage. I was born into this family. That means this determines my choices in my life. And I appreciate, again, in your book that you really, well, I was first going to say that you kind of break it up. You know, kind of myth bust that a little bit.
Yeah.
At the same time, what you also do is you allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you myth bust and allow because the
Reality
circumstances
is
did
what
happen.
it is. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if I had an abusive childhood, you know, which I did not, by the way, but if I had a childhood that was tremendously abusive, that doesn't predispose me for a life of misery.
Right.
That just tells me I had a childhood of misery.
Right.
And my life from there is what I choose to make it based on that reality. You know, so a little bit of
Yes.
healing, a whole lot of new learning, complete reprogramming of the direction I'm going so I don't follow that pattern, and I emerge into life as a positive force instead of coming in as a victim.
Yeah, and as I say, we're going to kind of, excuse me, take me through it a little bit. But one of the sort of experiences that came up to me or for me while I was reading the book is that my mom died when I was young. So what
How
did
old were you?
10.
10, okay.
So,
By the way,
and
let me interrupt for
Sure.
a second. 10 is the point in your youth when almost all of your brain functions have come online and you are, for the first time in your life, about as fully you as you've ever been. And the imprints that we have at age 10 are huge in comparison to the imprints at, say, 13 or 8 or 6 or whatever.
so you're saying this was a good time, if
Well,
there is such a thing.
I'm just saying this was an important time.
Yeah.
And matters a lot more than other times might have by comparison.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, my emotions and feelings about it were really also about my 5 brothers and sisters. It was a big group, you know, that was affected by this. And really, I look back on it and I realize that, I mean, I could have gone a lot of different directions, but I actually, where I went with it was I had a sister, I was 10, my sister was 16. I had a 20-year-old sister, but she was in college. And my 16-year-old just stepped in as mom. And so I, still being pretty young, but I sort of let go of my little friends and stuff at school, and I became her sidekick. You know, I was shotgun in the car and all that stuff, and so I became...
Vice mom.
Well, I
You got
really...
the president mom and the vice president
Well,
mom.
it was really like, yeah, but it was really like I was her sidekick. And
Yeah.
we really, you know, it was just like I was there and we just did all different things together to keep the little kids, you know, going. Because even though my dad wanted to, you know, sort of shut down and make the world go away, it was such a huge heartbreak for him. Little kids still need to eat and get to school and all that stuff. So the show must go on, and it did. And that was great. And we had really, honestly, those were some... for all of us, those were really some of the best times in our life, honestly. We just made it rock. And so, you know, they're just different things I did. I did start music. I did a lot of really positive things when I look back. And I think, wow, you know, it could have been a really disastrous story. But it really, really wasn't.
Good for you.
Thank you. The one thing that I do notice, though, is that I do, I'm like our whole family has a little bit of a commitment issue thing. But then also I've really learned how to allow my heart to be broken open, which has happened, and understanding what that is. And not to say I'm not scared sometimes, or if I see something that I think is going to maybe not go well, I'll sort of close down or move to the left or, you know, not allow it in. At the same time, I understand the concept of allowing my heart to be broken open and
Well,
going for that, which
self-protection
is
is
tough.
instinctive. You know,
Right.
you've got to learn when it's helping you and when it's not. Mm-hmm. And that's quite a process.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think of that, and I think of the different stories that other people have shared with me and books I've read and things like that, and seeing really the glass half full. I mean, even in the very much so in the Contagious Optimism book. I mean, every story is about that.
Yeah.
And about people who have really met with the most astounding issues and just turn them around. And it's just it's restores my faith in human nature so much. It's like we do have that possibility. Yeah. So your turn. You chat.
Well, let's talk about the whole concept of self-awareness, because
Okay.
that's the reason I wrote the ACORN Principle in the first place. I did several years of psychological research with a team of people. We worked on this specific material. We worked with the Psychological Testing Service at Arizona State University, along with a couple of other people whose brains were big enough to fill a room by themselves. And I would just sit at their feet and kind of catch the pearls of wisdom and then process them and communicate them. But the whole idea is that most people were never trained to know themselves. They were told, know thyself. Okay, good. Step 2, no, just know thyself. And they assume we know enough to go forward and multiply. Well, Give me the manual. Well, okay, I wrote it, and it's called the ACORN Principle.
So read it, people.
But the first thing I do in the ACORN Principle is I ask people to take a look at the different components that make you who you are. How many systems are in you, and how many systems are you in? You're in a family system, a neighborhood system, a school system, a work system, a community, a country, a philosophical group, religion, whatever, name
Political,
them all, right?
that.
Okay, so those are all systems, and they all have predictable parts, and so they share commonality in that they have a predictable type of part that makes them a system. But look inside your body. You've got a skeletal system, a circulatory system, a lymphatic system. You've got a nervous system. You've got, on and on and on. So the question that we start with is, how do I know you? If I know your skeletal system, do I know you? Well, of course not. If I know your circulatory system, no. If I know your external personality, do I know you? No. All I know is the manifestation of you that I see, right? So if I want to know you, what do I know? What do I start to get to know? And the answer is not simple, because you are a moving target. If you say, where is Sunny? Well, right there. Well, yeah, sort of, but that's just sort of her
media personality right now.
No, but that's your central location.
Oh, I see.
Is you in your body in the space that you're occupying right this minute. But we are way bigger than our body. Our consciousness reaches beyond us. We even know things beyond human explanation. The extrasensory perception and things like that are ways that we characterize it. But there's a whole lot more to being me or you than just sitting here and having all the body parts that function in the ways that the scientists tell us that they do. Okay. So how do I know you? Well, I should start getting to know some of the parts. Like, in what ways are you smart? Not how smart are you. In what ways are you smart?
I like that.
Because it may be that you're verbally smart and you're very good at articulating and communicating. It might be that you're interpersonally smart and you're really good at understanding other people's feelings and how they'd probably react to something. And if they did react this way, what's another alternative you could lead them to? You might be numerically smart and be good with math and numbers and figures and systems and flow and, all that sort of thing, categorization. You might be spatially and visually smart and be able to picture something in your mind and then sketch it out and make it a reality. It might be that you're physically smart, that you have a high level of physical intelligence and you're really, really good with your hands or with your body. That would show up in everything from doing little intricate, like watch repair work, all the way up to dance and singing and, playing basketball or whatever else it happens to be. Those are all forms of physical intelligence. And each of these intellects exists within our overall being and can be developed. And we are naturally sort of equipped to be really good at some of them and not nearly as good at others.
So that's sort of the nature-nurture thing a bit.
Yeah,
Well,
and nature-nurture, just very quickly, which determines who we are, nature or nurture? The answer is yes, all of the above.
Both, yeah.
And actually, the way you nurture, the way you cause your life experiences to unfold, actually changes how your nature unfolds in some ways. Not totally, but it affects it.
So with all of those different aspects of intelligence, I mean, when you're asking those, and I'm thinking, okay, well, where am I with that? I would say I have a little bit of all of those.
Yes, so does everybody else.
Okay, so everybody.
Which are your dominant, say, your dominant three?
Ooh,
Well, let's start with the easy one, verbal.
Yeah, okay,
You know,
the
because,
verbal one.
Because you're an on-camera personality, you're used to articulating.
But I also do sing, dance, and sew of the teeniest bits. So, I mean, the physical thing, I'm very physical now, but I actually wasn't as a child. I was a skinny little whatever, and I wasn't really in my body. And then I kind of chose to get in my body.
Yeah.
And that was a conscious choice to do. It wasn't from the jump, that's
I can
for sure.
identify with that. Because
Yeah.
I used to be fat and out of shape and smoke 2 packs a day.
I know, I read that in your book,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I weighed
Jim?
200 pounds. This is 150 by comparison. And I started
It's all
getting...
that wild guitar playing you do.
Yeah, I started getting fit when I was around 30. And I lost 52 pounds, and I started running. And, you know, this morning I got up. I'm 67 years old. I got up this morning and did 7 miles of mountain trail running.
Good for you.
Yeah.
In the beautiful LA.
Yeah.
The city of LA. Yeah, so I would say for me, yeah, the verbal, I mean, when I feel like I'm, whatever the percentage would be, because even when I was reading the book, I felt like I was really a bit, I mean, when you say everyone's a bit of all of them, but I felt like I was kind of
it's the other way around.
equally.
All of them are a bit of everyone.
Yeah, sorry.
You know,
yeah.
so you have all of those intellects, but
Yeah.
the ones that are most highly developed are the
Yeah.
ones that you've attended to the most.
Yeah, I
See,
kind of have attended to them all, I feel like.
So would you say...
Other than math.
Okay, well, there you go.
That, you know, spatial stuff, that is not strong for me.
Yeah.
No. But
So-
the other ones, I feel kind of they are sort of even, I
And
think.
if somebody is really good at mathematical things, their numeric intelligence is good, then they're going to be good as an architect or a accountant or a systems person or a technologist or anything that involves things adding up and making sense.
Yes.
You know, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be strictly mathematical.
Right,
It could
like
be
I was-
music, by the way.
Absolutely.
But they'd be technically good at music,
Right.
not necessarily artistically good at music.
Exactly.
And music is another type of intellect.
right.
Musical
oh, yeah.
intelligence, where you have a natural ability to understand musical patterns and to express yourself musically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a designer for many years, but then I hired people to do the patterns and things like that. That was just not fun for me. But then again, that's why God invented pattern makers.
And that's absolutely right. Absolutely
thank you.
right. If we were meant to do all jobs, we would be very different creatures than we are.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So, do you have any questions for me, or do you want to say just for the moment? And actually, what we're going to do, guys, also is we're going to do a little bit of music. I talked Jim into bringing his guitar in, and he actually has performed all over the world many, many times, and he has a very beautiful guitar. I got to play it a little bit earlier. So we may do a song or two as we're going along. So
good for
I'm
me.
going to kind of let you tell me if you want to say more about the
Okay.
ACORN principle.
Well, yeah, let's just touch
wanna
on
ask me a
another
question?
couple of areas.
Okay.
So the first one is start noticing. See, this is not about taking a test.
Okay.
This is about noticing things that you didn't notice in the past. And what happens is when people realize there are multiple intelligences, and in the book it's got all the references to Howard Gardner and Robert Sternberg and the other people that have studied intelligence and published on it a lot, so that, you can do further research. But when you start noticing different intellects exist, you start seeing evidence of them in yourself, like you did just a minute ago, and over time you start building sort of a file of new knowledge about how you're intelligent. And that gives you not only an understanding of your current state, but it gives you an awareness of other possibilities that are open to you if you choose to develop some of those other intellects more actively.
One of the things that I loved in your book was something that you brought forward about creating more in our lives. And you were citing our good friend Earl Nightingale, and you were talking about the idea that in one of his communications, he talked about taking, when you were really young, taking 1 hour a day to to dedicate to something. And recently I was thinking about that in my own life, because I have this show. I do a fair bit of social activist work, but I don't feel like I do, honestly. Like, I don't think I do enough at all. And so I was thinking, whoa, and there's so many things to do, and where do I want to put my energy? And there's water, and there's incarceration, and there's just everything has my heart. It's like sort of overwhelming for me sometimes. And so then when I heard that from our beautiful Earl, from his book and his heart, I was thinking, yes, I could even take, even if it's a half an hour a day, to
that's the thing.
dedicate to a specific cause, and just, write a letter or make a phone call or whatever it is, so that I can feel that I've done 7 significant things in a week that are forwarding that, and I can maybe rest more easily at night. I don't know, but we'll hope.
when I heard him on the radio back, it was 1972, he said, if you'll spend an extra hour a day studying your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in that field in 5 years or less. That hit me like a ton of bricks. It had never occurred to me I could be substantial, that I could make a difference. And so I took him at his word, and I started doing the math. Well, an hour a day over time, let's say 5 years, which was his formula, that's 1,250 hours if you take the weekends off. Okay, 1,250 hours of study in one field, of course, would make you a leading authority in that field. So you just take whatever cause or whatever field of study that you want to pursue, and let's say it's optimism. And you start studying optimism for an hour or even a half hour a day, every day, adding to your knowledge base each time. In a very short period of time, you'd be one of the leading authorities in your circle on optimism.
Absolutely.
And in a year or so, one of the leading in your nation and ultimately worldwide.
Absolutely. And again, if you're doing something that has to do with something political or social activism or something like that, then
or even wealth building. It could be completely focused on
your passion, just
acquisition even.
Right, or playing guitar or singing a half an hour a day, just doing that. Okay,
that's
people. And another thing that I love about this concept is the idea of a future you. We always have a future you, or me, or you.
Yep.
Or you, John. So we, if we do that, we are preparing for our future you, me.
And if we don't,
then
when we get there, we're not ready.
Because we're always getting there, and we're always having another future you kind of thing.
I told an audience recently, I work primarily as a professional speaker, and I was talking recently to an audience, and I said, here's my advice, get ready. And a guy in the front row looked at me quizzically, and I said, you got a question? He said, yeah, get ready for what?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know.
Right.
And he said, then how do I know how to get ready? And I said, well, you get the parts of you ready that would be able to respond to the broadest number of possibilities.
I like that.
And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, prepare yourself for coping with disaster, for optimizing opportunities. If you run across a huge opportunity, get yourself ready, know the right people, know what actions are indicated, know what sources to turn to, etc., and start building the relationships you need, start building the information base that you need in your head, the resources you need.
The infrastructure, basically. Yeah.
Because if your opportunity arrives and you're not ready, it's no longer your opportunity.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
But if you are ready,
your future you's not ready to.
You just got blessed. Yeah.
Well, something like this happened to me many years ago when I thought I used to do a lot of singing. I was a performer when I was pretty young, and then I sort of chose not to do that and go into design. And so I thought that was over, and I kind of chucked that off the list. Okay, I did that, and I'm not going to do that again. And then I started getting, and when you were asking. I'm kind of switching around here, but the gentleman was saying, how do I know? And I'm going to answer that a little bit, too, because there was this just kind of, however you want to put it, a voice started talking to me, or just feelings I had.
Some form of knowing that
some
you
form of
couldn't
knowing
articulate.
was coming to me saying, start practicing guitar and singing. And my conscious mind was like, for what? I was 45 at the time or something. It was like, what the hell? And it was like, what in the world would I be getting myself ready for? But it just kept saying, get ready, practice, practice, get ready. So I started, and I really was horrible. I mean, I hadn't played in a long time. It was depressing how bad I was.
That's what starting's about.
Yes, and then but jumping back in, and again, that memory, I had the body memory.
Yeah.
And so after a bit of stumbling and quacking and cracking and all of that and sore fingers, slowly, I just told myself 15 minutes a day. Just, I don't care, Sunny, how bad you are and how much you suck and how depressing this is.
Yeah.
Just do it, girl. And so I did, and then a lot of opportunities happened where I was meant to be in a certain place and sing a certain song for certain places and things, and a bunch of stuff happened.
Good for you.
But I had no idea at that time.
Well, same
So
for me. And I
people,
started.
future you, who knows?
Yeah. I started in my late 50s, early 60s again. I had played and sang, never really got really good at it, but I was doing it for a living for a short while back in my 20s. And then I kind of set it aside as just an amusement, occasional thing for years and years and years, like 30 years. And then a friend was having a party, and they said, hey, bring your guitar. And that reignited my interest in it, and I realized how much I loved it. And now then I'm performing all the time.
Well, so with that, and people, this is not scripted.
It's a
Can we whip
segue.
out I think that we call that a segue, right, John?
I think we do.
So we're going to just, play whatever you like. This is your show. Go for it.
This is a song I wrote years ago about motorcycling.
Okay.
And I had taken a long late-night motorcycle ride, 1968, so this goes way the heck back. And at the end of the ride, I sat down and wrote this. I'm riding free, got the highway at my feet. No place to be and no schedules to meet. There's not a thing in this world to tie me down. The buses pass me by, their destination on their face. No names on me, man, I'm not going just one place. I go where I want to be, in any town. Nothing but my mood to guide me. I follow the road I like best. One week I may go to Mexico. The next I'm headed northwest. Two wheels below me, an open road ahead. Don't need much money 'cause I'm carrying my bed. I'll work one day for my bread, then travel on. Don't put me down, man, I'm doing what I like. Yes, I'm happy when I'm out here on my bike. I'm seeing the world my own way. Come on along. Nothing but my mood to guide me. I follow the road I like best. One week I may go to Ohio. The next I'm headed southwest. 90 miles to Little Rock, my roots and memories. I'll pause, but new and winding roads are calling me. My goal's the ride, not the place. I'm riding free. My goal's the ride, not the place. I'm riding free.
I feel a little Glenn
Thank you.
Campbell in there, if you don't mind my saying.
Glenn Campbell was my music hero back in the day.
Really? I could feel
Because he
it.
was
I
from
could hear
Arkansas
it.
and I was from Arkansas, Little Rock.
Yeah.
And he has played this guitar
What?
at the Thousand Oaks Civic Arts Plaza Art Festival a year and a half ago.
Oh my God.
He was there. I had just performed. I did a stage performance, and at the end of it, I'm walking around with my guitar in a case and visiting the art booths. Well, one of the art booths was the actress Jane Seymour, and I'd met her before and always have been impressed with her. And I went over and I said hi, and she said, "Oh, hey, Jim, have you met Glenn Campbell?" I didn't know what to say, so I went over and I shook his hand, and we started telling stories about Arkansas. And then he was posing for pictures with people. And I said, "Well, you should have a guitar in your picture." I handed him this. And he took the guitar and he started doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, "Ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. It don't matter anyhow." And he nodded to me to keep on singing, and he kept on playing.
My
And then
God.
he started singing harmony. I sang a duet with my hero.
You love it. Yay. I
That
love
was
moments like that.
huge.
That's so
Huge.
cool. Isn't that interesting, though, that I kind of felt that Glenn Campbell bit in your
Well,
song?
here's where it came from, because I was inspired by this song. He opened his shows with it. It's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. That makes me tend to leave my sleeping bag rolled up and stashed behind your couch. And it was, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Glenn Campbell."
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Isn't that a beautiful song?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
John
yes.
Hartford's song.
Fantastic
Love that.
song. Oh, my God. But anyway, so thank you so much for that song. I really
You
love
bet.
that song. I think we actually have to take a break. So I want to do that. We're going to be back in a little bit. So I want to remind you that I am Sunny Chayes. This is Contagious Optimism Radio, if you couldn't feel that already. I'm here with Jim Cathcart and the ACORN Principal. We're going to hear more about that when we come back. And before we go out, I just want to say a hi to David Mesopel, because he's doing like the coolest thing right now. He is judging the Miss Wheelchair USA back east. So just a big shout out to you, David. That is like the coolest. I can't wait to hear all about that when you're back in town. So until we come back again, this is Sunny Chayes, and we'll be back in a minute.
It's the Contagious Optimism Show with inspiring host Sunny Chayes, featuring best-selling author David Mesopel. Real people with real stories of perseverance and hope. Join Sunny and guests ranging from Contagious Optimism co-authors to world leaders as they find the silver lining. Better understand why optimism is so empowering. Be recharged, inspired, and perhaps surprised as they tap into the secrets of a joyful life. To celebrate the human spirit. Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific on UBN Radio, and Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific on Gwen Network TV Stories. Contagious Optimism.
Hi, guys. We are back. I am Sunny Chayes. I'm with Jim Cathcart. We are playing around here with Contagious Optimism and having a grand old time here learning about how we are creating our future you right now,
That's
now.
true.
So let's just know that whatever we're eating, saying, doing, thinking, feeling, whoever we're playing with, whoever we're not playing with. So play with the right people. And play the right song. So that's what I have to say.
That. By the way, this is a song that was written.
Oh, okay,
this,
go for
this
it.
was written originally by my grandson, Jason Cathcart, who's now 13. He was 11, and he and his dad came over to the house for Thanksgiving the day before, and Jim's Jr., my son, he said, "Dad, Jason wrote a song." I said, "Well, cool." And so he sat down at the keyboard and he played it, a little piece of his song. And I said, "What's it about?" And he said, "It's about a bear." And Jim Jr. said, "I've come up with some lyrics for it." And they had it like, I don't know, 2/3 written. And I said, "Well, let's finish it tonight and play it for the family tomorrow." And so we worked on it a little bit, and then they went off and did other things with the rest of the family. And I finished the song, and then I put it on my website. On a music player, and the next day played it for them. And now then you can go to Cathcart.com, scroll down to the music player, and there's Night of the Bear.
Okay.
You ready? Think about Toy Story. The toys coming alive at night. It's that kind of a thing. Jason's bedroom upstairs is right next to his sister's bedroom, Amber, and so that'll have meaning in just a second. Her mom kissed her head as she tucked her in bed, supposedly safe for the night. She hugged her stuffed bear and she hadn't a care, wasn't prepared for a fight. When out of the dark came a host of strange sounds, toys came alive all at once. They all charged the bed, even hung overhead, and threatening sounds broke the hush. The dolls attacked from the front and the back, 6 princesses on the advance. Pony and Pooh turned menacing too, she felt she did not have a chance. When out of the closet Hello Kitty attacked, with Grover and Grinch by her side. She reached for the light, but no lamp was in sight. Darkness remained as she cried. We'll get her, Bear said, as the others he led. Against us she hasn't a hope. She's ours now, we're done, the battle is won. Somebody bring me a rope. Maybe Optimus Prime can save me in time. My brother's room is right next door. There's Woody and Buzz and soldiers inside. They'll save me and settle the score. She lunged for his door and then fell to the floor. It wouldn't unlock though she tried. She felt all was lost. Then a sound pierced the dark, came from right there by her side. And everything stopped as they looked at her clock. The buzzing was from her alarm. The sunrise was here, and it was very clear she would now be safe from harm. She rushed down the steps, now widely awake, smelling Dad's coffee and Mommy's pancakes. She was safe and secure with no danger at all, but not quite as safe as you'd think. At the base of the stair sat the bear in a chair, and he quietly gave her a wink.
I love it. That's super charming. That's so great.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God, I love it. Oh my God, how fun. Well, you have fun in your life, it seems.
Oh, I truly do. I
You
truly
have
do.
some
I'm
fun.
so blessed. Run
Wow.
mountain trails, ride motorcycles, play rock and roll, and I've got a killer great family.
Yes,
Just
and-
love it. Yeah.
And you have a killer great business, too. You
Yeah,
have
I
a
do.
killer great career, I would say.
I have been more than blessed. I've had the opportunity to be the president of the National Speakers Association. I've received virtually every award that's out there for a speaker to aspire to, and so that's been a huge blessing in my life. And I'm still involved actively in the National Speakers Association.
So I have a question for you, but I want you to be
Righty.
preparing questions for me again
Okay.
because we're supposed to get raw here.
You got it.
What's
Whoa.
next for you? Yeah, well, you know.
What's next for me?
Yeah.
I'm creating an online university. I call it the Cathcart e-learning suite.
Okay.
And I'm converting my relationship selling material, my professional speaker system material, my confident communication public speaking material into courses that people can take online that'll involve video and audio and assessments and all kinds of things like
Oh
that.
my
So
God,
that's
how cool
that's
is
a fun new
that?
piece. Yeah.
I love that. Do you know of Khan Academy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, if you don't know about Khan Academy, doesn't that rock? It's like you
Yeah.
can actually tune into that. It's KHAN. So, again, for your future you, take 15
like the
minutes
one on
a
Star
day.
Trek. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And take 15 minutes a day and like learn stuff about all kinds of things, history and art and music and
Oh, yeah.
and politics and things that we don't know about. And it's just done in a way, it's bite-sized pieces, so you can actually absorb it. Or I can say,
So
I
let's
can at least
take a
absorb.
bite-sized piece of looking at who you are and what
Ooh.
makes you you.
Okay, I'm ready.
There's
I
two
think.
things I want to get into for sure, in addition to intellect. One of those is personal velocity. Velocity, in this sense, is a combination of your energy patterns and your drive. Not your present energy, that's just momentary, but the patterns of energy in your life
Okay.
and your drive. And if you'll notice, looking back over your life since you were a young adult, chances are good your level of energy has been quite predictably the same. You know, there have been peaks and valleys, of course, but that's situational.
Yes.
And you can affect that with nutrition and rest and fitness and training and all that kind of thing. But generally, people tend to be a high energy, moderate energy, or lower energy person. Okay?
So I would be a high-energy person.
Yes, you would.
Yes.
And
Always.
you've had a to-do list that reflects that, and an accomplishments list that reflects that. And the other is drive. So you could have high energy and low drive, and you would be sort of a frenetic, highly active person, but you wouldn't necessarily be accomplishing much. You could have high drive, which, by the way, drive also has a pattern in your life, a predictable high, moderate, or low level of drive if you look back over your life over many years. So if drive is high and energy is low, then you got lots of ambition, but you burn out early,
Right.
and you're constantly taking time away to recover so that you can get back into the game.
Or I would imagine if somebody has high drive but low energy, it could also be sort of frustrating.
Oh, very.
I do tend to have, or I don't even tend to, I have very high energy and very high drive.
So do I.
So that matches for me because I can get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, I was talking to somebody recently about this, a person I consider a very accomplished sort of luminary.
Mm-hmm.
And we were chatting, and I said, gosh, sometimes I just feel like I'm not doing anything. And we were chatting about it, and I said, so I've taken to write down, what did I do so far today, maybe at even 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I look at it, and it's like, wow.
Oh, I know.
But part of it is because it feels pretty gracious to me. It doesn't feel like a lot of struggle or a lot of chipping away at the mountain at this point. I think earlier in my life maybe, but now it feels much more gracious and easy. And so I'm not really aware that I'm accomplishing a lot because it doesn't feel like I'm lifting weights like I used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, this person said the same thing. They said, yeah, I really have to write it down because otherwise I don't understand what I've actually accomplished in a day.
Yeah. And my son, when he was growing up, he didn't exhibit much velocity. He, you would have thought that he was a low velocity person. Energy pattern was just moderate or low. Drive seemed to be non-existent until he was a young adult, and then it started kicking in. Then you started seeing more of the true expression of who he was. And so when I'm talking with people about this, don't measure this in your childhood. Measure this in your adulthood.
I see.
Because my son is a very high-achieving senior executive with the Four Seasons hotels. So
Right.
that
I
you
see.
don't slide into that.
So
That takes discipline and drive and energy
Right,
and
and
so
this-
forth. Yeah.
And focus and things like
Yeah.
that, and good self-esteem and all that stuff.
But I've got family members and very close friends who have lower velocity than me, and they find me stimulating but tiring because I wear them out early, and they think, oh wow, don't ask Jim because he'll come up with a 7-year answer.
Right.
Right. And,
Yes.
and all I'm looking for is, do we
Like
take
what to do tonight.
Yeah. Do we take the next exit, or are you in the mood for Chinese?
Exactly.
And I would say, well, let's look at our nutrition. And this, how long do you expect to live? Okay. And
Yes.
how do you want that life to be? And what have you been eating now? Okay. Let's go get a checkup. And yeah. So I sort of oversolved the problems. Right.
It
Yeah.
was very interesting.
Yeah.
So do you have another question for me
Yes,
to
I
help?
do.
Oh, okay.
And this one's it's not about velocity. We've already determined you're a high velocity type person. And that intimidates low velocity people. And low velocity people tend to threaten high velocity people in the sense that the high velocity person sees the low velocity and says, oh man, if I work more closely with you on this, we're not going to get it done. And the other one is, oh my gosh, if I work with you, you're going to burn me out before noon.
Right.
And so we need to respect those differences and make sure that the people are doing tasks suited to their velocity. You say, well, just motivate them to higher. No.
Yeah.
Motivating them to higher velocity would be assuming higher is better than lower.
Right.
No, it is more productive, but it's not necessarily better.
Thank
so
you.
there's
I
room
love
for
that.
everybody in the world, right?
Yay.
So know your velocity, know how you're smart, and how you'd like to be smart, because you can develop those other intellects, whereas
Right.
you probably can't profoundly change your personal velocity.
Okay.
Values. What do you care about? Okay. Let me ask you 5 questions, and the same for our listeners. What qualities do you most want in a friend? Just write your answers down as I ask these questions, because I'm going to ask them quickly,
Okay.
and I just
And you
want
want me to
quick
answer
little
really fast.
1-2 word answers, that kind
Okay.
of thing. So what qualities you look for in a friend, okay? Second, what traits do you most want in a mate? Okay. Third, what do you think kids should be taught in school?
Okay.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Fourth question, if you could personally change the world in 1 or 2 ways,
Woo!
what would you change?
Holy moly.
If
okay.
you personally could change the world in 1 or 2 ways, what would you change? and just write down the first things that come to mind. And then there's one more question.
Okay.
Okay. The other question is, if tomorrow you won the lottery, not a lottery, I'm talking mega, super, hyper power, gazillions lottery, and money was no longer an issue in your life, what would you do with the money?
What would I do with the money or with my life?
With the money.
Or both? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Either way, because what you do with the money is what you're doing with your life at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
So I had to do it fast. Okay.
Yes, you did. Now look at your answers.
Okay. So I'm
Tell me,
answering them.
tell me whether you notice a pattern.
Yeah, I do.
What do you
a
notice?
pattern. Well, do I get to answer them?
Yep,
Okay,
go ahead.
so I want you to help me with this. Okay,
right.
so my first one was
Traits in a friend.
Okay, loyalty, fun, and character.
Okay. Qualities in a mate.
Self-reliance, respect, fun, and character.
Okay. They're very similar. Yep. And I like adding self-reliance. That's one of my primary values.
Yes, men,
Yep.
have it together,
Okay.
please. I
Yeah.
don't complete you. You
Ain't
complete
that the truth? Okay. What should kids be taught in school?
To be more expansive and to not have limits and character.
Okay. And if you could change the world?
Let's see, where did I write that? Okay, so what I wrote was, that was a hard one because it's so big for me.
Yeah.
It's huge for me. If I personally could change the world, it would be about, again, expansiveness, sort of relearning, letting go of myth busting, just
Yeah.
allowing everything so that we can, even in the ACORN principle, we can allow everyone to really be who they are and respect everybody. And then through that, I believe we would have peace
Okay.
and enough water for
And so if you
everyone.
had all the money that you could handle, what would you do with the money?
Well, the first I wrote down foundation, and so it would be to develop something that was a combination of probably 7 different aspects that I feel really important about on the planet,
Okay.
like, incarceration, ending slavery, water, like that, and
Excellent.
having it, and even maybe a school.
Excellent. Excellent. See, those 5
And by
questions,
that was fast, guys.
those 5
Okay.
questions were all the same question.
Ah,
The question was, what do you care about?
Okay.
So that was just 5 different ways of looking at it. And that's
I
why
like
the
that.
pattern in the answers is so predictable. As you look over it, you see, oh, yeah, that's me. Okay. If I knew what your values were, which is what those answers express, then I would be able to choose a gift for you, to know what kind of compliments you would respond to, what sort of things would threaten you the most and be the most unpleasant. I would know how to work with you. I would know what kind of causes that you could contribute to with the most full commitment, So the better we understand each other's values, the better we understand the wants that drive things, the motives. In other words, we understand how to activate a motivate another person because we know what their motives are.
I love this.
Okay, so it's not external motivation, it's
Right.
intrinsic internal motivation. Once I know your motives, motivating you is a piece of cake, right?
Well, and even writing this out, it helps me know a little bit more about me, just doing this exercise. So
Yeah.
I really thank you for that. And God, I mean, here we go. Just like lay it out there, Sunny. Okay.
Yeah.
And John tells me we have sort of 2 minutes left. Yikes. And
In the whole show?
In the whole show. Can we believe it? So we're going to go out to music with you, but I want to remind people that you are listening to Contagious Optimism Radio. I am Sunny Chayes. This is Jim Cathcart. The ACORN Principle. I highly recommend that you read, do the exercises. You will be a gift to everyone around you. I'm not kidding. Talk about the contagious optimism element of the ripple effect out into the world. I really do believe that, and I know you do too now, Jim, after being with you, that by having us really understand who we are, there is no good or bad, just understanding how we roll, that we are so much more easily effective in our life, so much love can happen, so much peace can happen, and so the more of us who know who we are and what we are, and as I say, how we roll, the better.
And also, the less we interfere in the lives of others.
Exactly, and we can the peace, the
Yeah.
love. I just kept feeling that when I was reading your book. I could just feel the communication and the connectivity and the web of life.
Most
just flowing,
interpersonal
flowing,
tension
flowing.
is rooted in one person trying to change the other person.
Right.
Because they don't understand each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so speaking of how we roll, we're rolling out of here, as it turns out. So we've got to roll out of here, but we're going to roll out with Jim playing whatever he wants to. And until
I'll play
next
another
time,
rhythm.
just enjoy and remember that optimism is contagious. Pick it up, pass it on, play with it, use it, know it, and check us out at Contagious. Do we have that up, John? Perfect. So we have all that, Contagious Optimism. Just check it out. There's all kinds of activities going on. And until next time, sing, Jim.
You
Sing
got
us
it.
out.
This one's called Barbecue.
Okay.
It's a taste of home, a taste of love, and the thrill of Mountain Dew. It's a touch of heaven with a dash of hell. We call it barbecue. My friend Rupert once wrote a book about the best darn barbecue. He searched the nation for all the best, came up with quite a few. There were sweet ones, tart ones, peppery hot, and some that taste like stew. But the absolutely positive best was homemade barbecue. 'Cause it's a taste of home, a taste of love, and the thrill of Mountain Dew. It's a touch of heaven with a dash of hell, and we call it barbecue.